This is yet another comment on the video about why do I feel like everyone hates me. And I feel like I have covered all the bases of that particular topic in the, expanded video. But this comment actually made me think a lot about things because this is kind of a different viewpoint that's introduced into this video. So I want to talk about it. Frankie Theory 7286 says, I always end up sabotaging potential close relationships and ruining friendships because for some reason I feel incapable of being genuinely liked. If is being kind and sweet to me and showing genuine interest in connecting with me, I feel like they're just being nice. Or for some reason they just feel sorry for me. This is the reason why whenever I make a new friend, it can be stressful sometimes because being conversation, because I have to over and double think everything I have to say so that I don't come out in a way that puts them off. Basically, it feels like I'm trying to mold myself into someone I think they might like and find more desirable to talk to or be around. The sad thing is, I know I have such a beautiful personality, but it's just so hard to be truly myself when I feel like I'm naturally very unlikable. Or like people will think I'm too much. So I made a habit of shrinking myself and just feeling so lucky and unworthy if anyone gives me the tiniest bit of attention and I feel like I owe them. Even just taking time to talk to me, especially if they give me a compliment, even if they genuinely just like me and want to connect. So great, 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 great self-observation and self-awareness. This is so it's one thing to have this level of self-awareness in general, but it's another thing to be dishonest in admitting something that's sort of that can be sometimes seen as embarrassing. So I think you have those things that are going for you. This is sort of excellent, right? So now hopefully I can add a little bit more color to this so that you can think about this whole phenomenon in a bit of a different perspective. So self-sabotage. Well, let's talk about that second because let's get this quick thing out of the way. You, on one hand, believe you're not that worthy. So if you truly believe that, then strangely, this won't be a problem. You're not gonna have this exact problem. Why? Because if other people treat you like crap, it's like, oh yeah, good. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm not that great, but whatever. You're kind of wasting your time. And suppose they came to me and then they expected something out of me and then they end up disappointed. And I'm like, well, it's okay because I mean, it was your expectation because I know I suck and I never tried to make it seem like anything else. So you had your expectations on me and then you just kind of broke away from your expectations, so I'm fine. So if you truly believe that, you're kind of fine. It's sort of like this. If you run a Chinese restaurant, right? And for some reason somebody comes in expecting, do you have Italian food? You're like, nope, this is a Chinese food restaurant. And then they're like, no, I think you're lying. I think you have good pasta. And then they order, I don't know, chow mein. And then they eat the chow mein and they're like, this isn't pasta. You're like, fucking of course. I told you this is a Chinese restaurant. So I'm like, you suck as an Italian restaurant. And you're like, yeah, that's sort of the point. We're a Chinese restaurant, right? So the conflict that you are experiencing is actually coming from, on one hand, understanding and truly believing that you're not worth it, you're unlikable, and you kind of suck. But on the other hand, you want to be loved and you want to be cherished and you want other people to see that you are lovable. But the thing is, these two beliefs are kind of conflicting with each other. And in the end, what ends up winning is this one, like the I'm not good enough part. So the thing is, why don't you believe you're good? I know that there are tons of reasons why why cognitively it doesn't make sense, right? I know that when I ask you to, give me all the reasons why you think you're not lovable and we sit down to talk about it, I know that technically we're not going to find that there's any real reason you should think so lowly of yourself, right? I don't know. Maybe there is. So if you want to talk about this a little bit more, feel free to leave a comment. But in the end, it's about this inner belief that goes beyond what you think. And some of the reasons why you might have these beliefs are maybe your parents didn't give you a lot of love that you wanted. Like they didn't love you in the way that you wanted. And the authority figures around you didn't validate you in the way that you wanted to be validated. So you saw other people being validated and celebrated in the way that you wanted, like in the way that you have coveted, and you kind of wanted that for yourself, but instead, um, the love and validation that you actually received from the world isn't like turned out to be different from that expectation. So it feels like you're not loved. It feels like you're not appreciated. So that's a really compelling reason why you might have this kind of a belief system. But now, this is the actual segue into the, actual meat of this video that I wanted to talk about with you today. I don't normally talk about the responsibility of society in my videos when it comes to personal problems. Now, I do acknowledge that a lot of our problems come from societal values and societal structures and how we are kind of taught to think about things, right? That is an undeniable part of our mental health woes because we're all interconnected with each other, right? We're not just separate entities from society. We have a feedback loop with society as individuals because we are individuals, we are also part of society, right? But the reason why I don't really talk about those in my videos is because it can really give the impression that you're a victim of your society. You're a victim of your upbringing. And the more we talk about how it's actually not your fault, which technically it really isn't your fault. Like a lot of it has to do with your upbringing. But I would like for people to think about their individual responsibility first. I want you to think about bootstrapping your life first. Regardless of the hand that you were dealt, I would like for you to think of yourself as I'm this capable person. And, I may not be in the ideal position right now. I may not have started in the ideal starting point, but it doesn't matter because I'm always converging towards the person that I want to be. I want you to have that self-belief first. And then I want you to have the insight. I want you to have the open eye perspective of what it means to interact with the world, thinking about how society interacts with you and other people, right? But when we don't have that individual responsibility part first, then we tend to blame society. We tend to think that we are a product. We tend to think that we are powerless over the greater powers of society. So that's why although all problems can originally be, traced down to parents and society, I don't really devote a lot of time talking about that. I talk a lot about individual responsibility and individual you. Now, why did I just give you this entire spiel? It's because self-sabotage is actually a form of good citizenship. When you see somebody cutting in line, you want to say something. When you see somebody litter, you want to pick up. These are the values that you see as good citizenship. So, you have a way of viewing the world. You have a way of thinking how resources should be allocated, how attention should be given, how validation and love should be given to other people. Maybe it's based on merit, maybe it's based on looks, whatever your value system is. You observe the world and you kind of see that this is how the world operates. But now, somebody kind of goes against your worldview. So, for example, you believe in, civic responsibility and voting and everything, but you're having a conversation with your friend, and your friend is like, "No, politicians are all the same. I'm not going to vote." You might get into a heated argument about how it's so important for all you know civilians and citizens to have exercise their right in voting and so on, right? So that's citizenship. So when you see other people giving you attention, when you see other people like holding you to high esteem, you're like, no, 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 no. This should be going to somebody else. You want to make the world right. So in a way, your self-sabotage is a byproduct of your good citizenship. This is a little bit of a warped perspective. It's sort of, it's kind of a strange viewpoint. But when you think about it like this, you can see how much of the experiences that you are having is a byproduct of your worldview. So when your worldview is rigid, when you see things that deviate from the norm or expected behavior, you get very angry, you get very disappointed, you get very upset. But if you understand the world, if you understand that the world is kind of like a bell curve, in general things follow this pattern, but of course there are statistical outliers. In general, this one thing maybe may have multiple bell curves on top of it. So like a food may be too unhealthy when you think about it in terms of fat content, but then it may be really good when you think about it in terms of the sodium content. So just like this, when you can see the world, that the world is a little bit more nuanced than just one rigid worldview, there are more perspectives you can understand the world from. So one way of thinking about yourself is like, like I'm kind of this great person, and that's fine. Another way of looking at yourself is like, yeah, I suck, but that's okay. This is just who I am right now, and I've accepted that everything happens is fine. Or the alternative angle is that I want to suggest to you, especially because you're experiencing self-sabotage, is examining your very rigid worldview. First of all, that's a kind of a wild assumption I'm making, right? I'm kind of assuming that your worldview is rigid. So, is my worldview rigid? Are my perspectives too kind of like set in place? Did I have authority figures who really instilled some kind of a belief system in me? Are my parents really not flexible people? Or maybe my parents are too flexible without rules, and you kind of want to compensate for it by, man, I never want to be like my parents, and then you have a rigid worldview in place. So these are some things that I think that can help you soften your worldview. And then in the end, it'll kind of translate into your self-view as well, which will kind of, very indirect and a roundabout way help you with this phenomenon of thinking that everyone hates you. So turned out to be a bit of an elaborate video, both videos today. But I genuinely think these are good pointers for you. So I hope that you can check it out and apply it to your life. And as always, if you have any questions or if you want me to talk about a certain topic, feel free to leave a comment into the YouTube or email me at billy@julylifecoach.com.